What's up guys, Mega Man here, and it's just a quick video talking about all the weapons that we know so far that'll be in Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. Also, a link to the article that I got some of this information from will be in the description down below. First up, we gotta mention the main weapons that the characters will have, the melee weapons. Ratchet will have the wrench and Rivet will have the hammer to be able to smash through boxes and also fight enemies. The burst pistol is one of the many weapons that'll utilize the PS5's adaptive triggers. When you pull the trigger halfway, it will result in a single shot of plasma being fired at the enemy. While a full trigger pull results in a constant stream of plasma balls being fired. However, the rapid fire function will result in decreased accuracy. The Enforcer is a shotgun similar to the burst pistol, will utilize the adaptive triggers. It'll allow the players to fire the shotgun like a weapon with either one barrel or both barrels depending on how far the trigger is pulled. This shotgun will be useful for dealing out massive damage to bigger enemies. The Topiary Sprinkler, this weapon right here seems like it'll be pretty good if there's a lot of enemies around. It is a unique weapon that will cover enemies in a rapid growth fertilizer and immobilize enemies in a twisting set of vines. With this weapon, for the adaptive triggers, players will be able to feel when the fertilizer has turned their enemies into sort of like a garden sculpture. The Ricochet is a launcher that will fire a projectile that allows players to hit enemies multiple times with a small bouncing ball. The article did mention that there isn't much known on this weapon yet, but from what they showed in a recent gameplay, it seems players can manually control how many times the ball bounces off the enemies. It also stated that the launcher has a mini game that will allow for bonus damage. Shatter Bomb is similar to fusion grenades from prior Ratchet and Clank titles. This grenade will deal massive amounts of damage upon impact in a fiery purple explosion. With this decently sized area of effect, it could be great for dealing with multiple enemies at a time. Mr. Fungi is a weapon that will fire a swarm of fungus spores while also distracting Ratchet and Rivet's enemies. In prior titles, a weapon called Mr. Zircon will fire a drone that harms enemies while also distracting them with jokes. So Mr. Fungi's distraction methods may be similar. This Mr. Fungi weapon I can see probably getting used a lot, especially for people that have enemies they really don't want to deal with. Negatron Collider. This massive cannon, while slow in use, will fire a massive energy beam through multiple enemies. Whoa. This looks like a great Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart weapon for crowd control and dealing with enemies who have more health than average. The Lightning Rod is a new weapon that looks to shoot rapid firing balls of arcing electricity at enemies and stun them for a brief moment. This weapon was shown off briefly in the Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart gameplay, so it seems like it could be useful for crowd control and keeping approaching enemies at bay. The Warmonger is a weapon that fans may remember from previous titles like the Ratchet and Clank 2016 remake. It is a multi-rocket firing weapon that deals great amount of damage and causes area or effect damage. The Hound is a new weapon that was revamped from a once scrapped weapon idea, the Revolverator from old games. The new weapon will fire out a spiral and drill into enemies and explode on impact. It may be a great weapon for dealing with shield-bearing enemies as it spins its way through. The Buzz Blades are another returning weapon from the prior Ratchet and Clank titles. It's a weapon that fires rotating saw blades that ricochet off the ground and walls, enabling enemies to be hit multiple times for a big chunk of damage. The Void Repulsor is a weapon that will produce a projectile blocking shield in front of Ratchet and Rivet, allowing them to tank damage for a bit of time. Once players feel like it, they can break the shield and use the energy to fire out a shotgun-like blast into their enemies. Depending on how long this holds up, if there's a lot of enemies and too much firepower, this definitely will come in handy, especially if you want to do some damage back. Cold Snap, a weapon that was shown for a brief moment, was able to flash freeze a massive floating machine in a block of ice. There's no telling if it'll have an area effect damage, but you being able to freeze large enemies in place will allow for a much needed break when swarmed with smaller or faster enemies. Black Hole Storm is a new Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart weapon that has only been shown once like the Cold Snap, but from its quick preview it looks like a heavy machine gun that shoots out bullets that rip away armor and enemy weapons in a brilliant flash of purple bullets. If you remember this from the previous game, it was pretty cool to see what it did. The Pixelizer, fans may remember this weapon from the 2016 remake of Ratchet and Clank. It's a shotgun-like weapon that blasts out green energy which turns multiple enemies into 2D pixelated figures that crash down into tiny green cubes once they've been defeated. While it's only available as a pre-order bonus currently for Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, it is a great weapon for crowd control for those who decide to pick it up. Glove of Doom is a returning weapon from the previous Ratchet and Clank games. It's a metal glove that hurls out Doom eggs. These eggs release Agents of Doom, tiny little robots that charge at enemies and explode. The explosion is powerful with enough force to one-shot enemies with average health. Comment below what do you think about some of these weapons that were mentioned so far in this game. Thank you guys for watching this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay tuned for future gaming updates, and I'll see you guys in the next video.